Om. 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So, Parthuda, your turn again today also. Raghuji is there. He can take it. Okay. Invocation.
So I didn't join late enough. No, I was not intending to do that, but the पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतथा जयद्रथजला गान्धारणीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदिः कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलः प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Om Harihi Om. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, so we are on verse number 10 and of chapter 13, and we are saying over there asaktiranabhishvangaha putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu. So this was your homework. So anybody wants to go? Arthoda?
So,
Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah. So you had first asked the question, non-attachment versus dispassion. Why? How are they different?
Correct.
So I was looking at that. See, non-attachment essentially eliminates the source of desire in order to protect something we have attachment to. Can also be, in order to hurt something we have no attachment or we hate. the other way, the opposite of attachment. So when I say non-attachment, it is both the attachment as well as the opposite of attachment. And neither of them should be there. That is non-attachment. It takes away the desire to do either benefit or harm for my personal satisfaction, gain. Okay. Dispassion, on the other hand, for me, it means looking at anything that happens to us, could be good or bad, but we view it with equanimity. Okay, it's come, carry on, roll with the punches, as I say, carry on. If it's something that's unhappy that comes, usually we remember everything unhappy that comes. We don't remember all the good things, happy things that come. But even happy things, we should not get too much, how do you say, drawn by that.
Okay. Any other view after that?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, this non-identification is equal to dispassion? Same thing? Because you talked about non-attachment and non-identification.
Mm-hmm.
So when Raghuji talked about dispassion, is it the same thing as non-identification?
We'll get there later. What is your view? What is
okay.
So the first question was, what is the difference between vairagya and anasakti? That is the first question, right?
You didn't say difference. You did not say difference. You said what is non-attachment and what is non-identification. You wanted to know what is our understanding.
Yeah, I said vairagya because see, indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha, verse number 9. And suddenly in verse number 10 he says, in verse number 10 he says, asaktirana vishwangaha. So now, are the two, vairagya and asakti, why would Vyasamuni or Krishna use two different words? Now, obviously they are well versed in the language. Krishna, we know, is a brilliant communicator. Krishna, or through the voice of Krishna's voice reaching us through Vyasamuni, is a brilliant communicator. So the use of two different words in the same set of verses obviously indicates that there are two different meanings. So my question was based on the fact that if we understand these nuances, the deeper we go into understanding these nuances, the more applicable are the different practices that we can apply to ourselves. Hence the question. So now, what is the answer? Vairagyam and asakti.
So, non-attachment, I'll first talk of non-attachment. And when I go to non-identification, there is, you say non-attachment or unattachment, whatever. Can I say that asakti is the same thing?
Same thing as?
Because I am a book where it says the words in English, unattachment. This is by Swami Chidbhavananda of Ramakrishna Mission. Tapovanam. He uses the word unattachment and non-identification.
Okay. Vairagya as non-identification and asakti as non-attachment.
Yes.
Fair enough. Technically, asakti would mean non-attachment, whereas vairagya means dispassion. I'm going to buy a dictionary meaning. I'm going by a standard dictionary meaning.
I see.
Okay. Now, if I look at a standard dictionary meaning, then one of the things we should understand, or at least the way I look at it is, when I say vairagya, this is the fading away of the worldly cravings, the emotional dependency on external things. So it is a state of being undisturbed by the dualities, right? This is, in my opinion, vairagya. Whereas asakti is the process of engaging with the world, doing your duty, without clinging or obsessing over the results. So this is, as Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa has been translated to say, being in the world but not of the world. Right? The Pakal March that we talk about. So being in the swamp but not of the swamp. So if I look at it from an internal functioning, in my opinion, again, dispassion, vairagya, is the shield that what it does is the raga, vairagya. The word raga is included in that word, right? Vairagya. Raga means what? Raga is gravity. Right? The mental gravity that draws you in. So, if I need a shield between that mental gravity that is drawing me in, then that is vairagya. Whereas non-attachment, it is a lack of possessiveness. So one is more in terms of saying there is a positive shield that is preventing me from being hit by negativity. And the other is a negative thing in itself, in the sense it is an absence of possessiveness. So I own a lot of things and I enjoy a lot of things, but none of them own me. In chapter 9, he says, I am in them, they are not in me. Right? I am in them, they are not in me. We use that in a cosmic level by saying he is that Atman which is in everybody and nothing is inside that Atman. But even here, it is like the same thing. I own the car. I enjoy the car. But tomorrow, if the car is not there for whatever reason, right? I suddenly suffered a bankruptcy and my EMI was not paid and the car got repossessed. I don't sit down and grieve over it. It is there, I enjoy it. If it is not there, I don't care. It does not affect me. So that is the understanding, the way I look at it. So dispassion, vairagya, looks like as if it is turning away. It looks as if it is a withdrawal, it is an indifference, right? But in reality, it is actually stopping the mind from chasing that which is illusory. Whereas asakti is full engagement. Now, see this. If you look at the series and the step-by-step unfoldment of these practices, then you see vairagya coming in before asakti. Because without vairagya, asakti will become impossible. See, I am saying I want you to engage in the world. Now, you see, let us put it like this. Tantra talks about the Vamachara Upasana. Vamachara Upasana, it has been very denigrated a lot because of various wrong interpretations of the Tantra. But then Vamacharya used the Panchamakara. The Panchamakara included Madira, mother. Okay. So it included the consumption of alcohol. It included maithuna. It included sex. Right? Now, what did it do? It took that sex or that alcohol and transcended the attachment to both by making it divine, by divinizing. I mean, I don't know if that is the word, but if by divinizing those which we normally say are not good. So mudra, matsya, mamsa, maithuna, mada, all of these panchamakaras, which normally we say are not good, they were divinized. Now, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa very clearly says, you have to be a great hero. A person who has conquered his mind, he is a hero, right? Only a person who has conquered that is the greatest enemy. You have to be a great hero, Mahavira, to be able to engage in the Panchamakara and not get swayed by them. Because the vairagya has not happened, the asakti will come. So the anasakti can only come when vairagya has developed. That is my reading, right? Gurudev in his book has not done that. Gurudev has basically taken each word separately and put each one word as a separate practice, right? However, the way I look at it is that these set, right from when we look at verse number 8, right up to verse number 12, all of these, they are a composite set of various practices. Now, each one of them can be done, but some of them are very closely dependent on each other. Right? Because when I don't have when I have ahankara, when I have ego, and ego is very closely tied with the body, mind, intellect, then janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukha dosha anudarshanam cannot happen. It becomes very difficult. My ego plays a very big role over here then. And therefore, my son is born. I was born. I cannot be born. I am anadi. I am amara. But then I am born and I die. And I grow old. And I fall ill. Because the ego plays. So anahankara links to the doshanudarshana. So these are close pairs. Right? You can practice one without practicing the other. Practices are, of course, open. But it becomes difficult if we don't do it in that sequence, is how I read it. So therefore, the first one, amanitvam, that continuous strength of I am so important to this world, and if I die, tomorrow the sun will not rise, that itself brings in a lot of the other practices automatically in place.
You know, Samir, you look at chapter 2. See, we were introduced to attachment in chapter 2 itself. So I was looking at that, and I found in verse 14, Krishna talks about non-attachment. First he said that you fight, fellow, you fight. You don't worry who is your relative and all, and then he went on to explain. Again, I find in 48 also, he told Arjuna, you perform your action renouncing attachment and being even-minded in success and failure. Correct? Now, Vairagya was not introduced there. And you said Krishna always goes in steps. And
he said that. Where did he bring in Vairagya? No. He brought in Vairagya.
Where?
Abhyasena tu Vairagyam. First practice, then do Vairagya. Practice what? Practice Karma Yoga.
But that came later.
Yeah, of course. So he is very consistent. What did he say? He always says, first do your karma, do your karma, do your karma.
Yeah.
Do it with what? Do it with the practice of saying, don't get into the craving of the results.
Yes.
Right? The craving of the results. The craving, when I say craving, what are we talking about? We are talking about raga. Craving is raga. Exact meaning of craving is raga. So when I say don't crave, what are we asking you to do? Vairagya.
Acha. Okay, that way you were interpreting.
Right.
Okay. So actually then it is almost one and the same way he is explaining non-attachment and non-identification.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Now, so he says, we saw that particular first part. Then I think the second part, what was the second part of the homework?
That was Vairagya, non-identification.
No, then
These
there was
two
another
only
one.
you told.
Is it?
No,
because
no.
Putra Dara Grihadeshu, I didn't talk about that.
No, you say non-attachment and non-identification. Okay. What do these two mean? Up to that you gave.
Then he says, after that he says, Asaktir Anabhishwanga Putra Dara Grihadeshu. Right? Now, what is this Putra Dara Grihadeshu? Putra means children, Dara means spouse, Grihadeshu means home. Now, Abhishwanga means craving. Abhishwanga means craving. Anabhishwanga means absence of craving. Craving of what? Now, this craving is, till now, he was talking of what is happening inside my mind. He has moved away from the inside the mind to outside the mind in terms of possessions. Right? My putra, my dara, my griha. Three mais. The biggest mais that we identify with. My son, my wife, my spouse, and my house. When I say house, it includes all the stuff inside the house, right? The exotic furniture that you have. I went to somebody's house. The house had a fan which he had got custom made for his particular room. So I find very nice. Please enjoy the fan and the breeze that it gives. Here it is custom made because the engineer friend of his, he went into the room to analyze where how the air will flow, and therefore put in a fan which has a specific angle at which it was designed so that every corner of the room will get the same amount of breeze. You don't have to sit under the fan to get the breeze, and so on and so forth. Right? And he was so proud of it. This pride of things around us, this possession of things around us, identifying by the things around us. Ma kuru dhanajana yauvana garvam harati nimesha kala sarvam. Right? So he says dhana, jana, yauvana, all three. Jana, very big. Right? Especially if you're in Delhi. तुमको पता है मैं कौन हूँ? At the moment the policeman comes and asks you, तुमको पता है मैं कौन हूँ? नहीं, अच्छा हुआ, नहीं पता है ना, भाग जाता हूँ मैं. Everybody is a relative to some minister over there, some MP over there, some IAS officer over there. You want to claim that, Jana, you don't know who I am. My relationships, my ability to draw upon people as a strength, my spouse, and all the in-laws that I know, good or bad, whichever they are, right? My son, oh, his achievements, oh, this, that, all of this, that identification is so important in our lives. He is saying, stop doing that. Get away from it. Get away from this continual self-identification with things that are external to you. So then what do I practice? He says in the next verse. Nityam cha samachittatva. Right? Nityam cha samachittatvam. Samachittatvam. I am nityam. All the time. I want to be in equanimity. So when you are not in equanimity, this is not again, as I will repeat that this is not a quality. It's a practice. So you will find yourself at some points of time, not in equanimity. You have got angry, you have got sad, you have got happy, you have jumped in joy, you have boiled up in rage. How do you get over it? Reflection is a very important tool that is used in doing this. What is reflection? Initially, the reflection has to be, when we start this practice, the initial reflection is more in terms of, let us say, looking at large chunks of time in one go, which means you look at possibly going before you go back to sleep tonight, you sit down on the bed itself. Don't lie down. Lying down, the chances of you going off to sleep while doing this practice is very high. So sit on the bed. No problem if you are sitting in a bad posture. It is not a meditation. You are not trying to raise energies, right? You are not trying to calm your mind. You are actually going to use your mind. You're going to use the mind. You're going to sharpen the mind and use it. How do you do this? You go through the entire day. Look at all the behaviors that you have done throughout the whole day. What did you say? Who did you say it to? What was your mental state when you said it? Now, could you have done something different? Now, when you start this practice on a daily basis, every day, what happens is the time periods start automatically becoming narrower, shorter. And there will be a point of time where the time gap between your reaction and your response in terms of your thinking about what you are doing becomes so narrow that you will start responding rather than reacting. This is how our minds work. This is not the Bhagavad Geeta. This is basic understanding of just the mind, how it works. Right? So when you look at your mind and you say, okay, let me take the whole day, then you say, fine, now I'm going to do this at the end of, before my lunch period. Before I sit down for lunch, Let me sit down and reflect upon what I have done from the time of waking till the time of going to sleep, till the time of eating. What have I done? And in that period, then next day you do it up to breakfast. So the moment you start bringing this narrower and narrower and narrower, automatically you will find that your ability to stop the reaction and move to response becomes natural. And that is where then automatically what has happened is you have started moving towards samachittatvam. And then he says, ishta, anishta. Ishta and anishta. What is ishta and anishta? What is the meaning of that?
What we like and what we don't like.
Ishta, desirable, exact literal meaning, desirable. Anishta, that which is not desirable. How many of you have ever made a wrong decision in your life? I can give you a guarantee that you have never made a wrong decision in your life. You've never made a wrong decision. The results were anishta. The decision was not anishta. Correct?
Okay.
So if the decision was always ishta, isn't it? It was a decision that you liked. It is a decision that you decided to do because you liked that particular decision. Because that was the only option at some point of time. It was my choices were limited. I had nobody in front of me excepting Sita Raghu, who I had to marry and change her name from Sita to whatever she was to Sita Raghu, right? All of those decisions were taken with the clear intent of saying, I will get something out of this which is fruitful towards what I want. It is when the result came out and you found the results were anishta that you said that the decision was wrong. You are looking back. You are looking into history. You are living in the history. You are not in the present. No human being till date has ever said, no rational human being has said, I know this is wrong, but I am going to do it. Right? So you do not make wrong decisions. So therefore, when we say ishta and anishta, you have to be very clear in your understanding of what is ishta and what is anishta. Desirable is that where I'm looking again in the future in terms of saying the result that I expect out of my present action will be. Isn't it? So I am doing something that I like. I am getting something that I like. Based on what? Based on actions that I have done in the past. Anything that is happening with you is based on actions that you have done in the past. Anything that is happening. The fact that you are going through this particular torture of listening to me for 45 minutes is also something that you have taken a decision in your past because of which you are coming here. All of these are based on our own decisions. There is no free. There is no question of predestination. There is no destiny. It is all your choice. The fact that you don't know your choice of the past, karmano gahano gatihi, each karma has led to multiple streams of action results, all of which I cannot predict, because of which I don't understand it, and therefore I say, oh, it is destiny. मेरा भाग्य है, फूटा हुआ. कुछ फूटा नहीं है, तुमने फूटे हुए से डिसीजंस लिए. करेक्ट? चॉइसेस लिए जो कि जिसका रिजल्ट तुमने जो सोचा था वो नहीं हुआ. And you think that, oh, this is मेरा कर्म, मेरा भाग्य. No, it's not your bhagya. It is your choice. And therefore, when we
Samir,
say...
it is not always, it is not always that way. See, even in this particular verse, he is talking about you are identifying with your spouse, son, your house, your wealth. You are identifying, correct? It is not that you are taking any decision here. You may lose all that. And you maintain equanimity. That part, can you clarify?
Yes, of course. See, there are two things here. One is our tendency to be remaining in the past and the future. Right? That is one way of looking at it. The other is about the present. the past and the future are impacting, rather, the future is being impacted, or the past is impacting my present. That much we understand. When I say that there is something which is Ishta or something which is Anishta, what am I actually looking at? When I even give it a label of saying this is Ishta and this is Anishta, what am I actually doing? I am passing judgment, isn't it? I am passing judgment. Now, when I passing judgment, what am I judging? Am I judging the result or am I judging the action?
Result I'm judging.
Obviously. Therefore, where is your attachment?
Yeah.
Where is your concentration? Again, so therefore,
Result.
the Ishta and Anishta are based out of the results which have arisen out of our karmas from the past. Right? See, there is a very interesting story here. Destiny. We talk about destiny, right? And we say that destiny, and I'm a very strong proponent of the fact that there is nothing called destiny. You don't understand something and therefore you call it destiny, but the result that you are experiencing today is an effect for which there has to be a causality that has happened in the past. And that causality, there is a certain degree of predictability which I am unable to predict because of my non-understanding of, for a want of a better word, say my non-understanding of quantum mechanics. So if I don't understand quantum mechanics and I have a quantum particle which is supposed to go from a point A to point B, and I predict a particular path, it may not travel by that particular path because quantum physics is not my area of study, and therefore I suddenly find it has gone somewhere else. Now, because I did not understand it, I will say, oh, the hand of God. Some Higgs boson particle came and hit it, and therefore it went somewhere else. Everything is linked to cause and effect. Because I don't understand it, I bring in the concept of destiny. Let me tell you a story here. All of you know about Dhruva Maharaj, right? Dhruva Maharaj, when he was 5 years old, his mother Suniti told him that if you want to sit on your father's lap, then only Mahavishnu can make that happen. So he went off to the forest. Where will I do my tapasya? I will do it in the forest. As he was going into the forest, Narad Maharishi, Devarshi Narad, gave him a mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He sat down and did this tapasya for 5 days. And in 5 days, he attained the presence of Mahavishnu himself. And Mahavishnu came in front of him and touched him with the conch. The conch is the symbol of Nada. So Nada Brahma awakened him from his deep trance, and he asked to be sitting on the lap of his father. Mahavishnu gave him, saying, not only the lap of your father, you will be in such a place where the entire universe will rotate around you. And therefore, he was put at the center. He is the pole star. This is a very well-known story. The second part of the story is, now there were a lot of rishis and munis who were living in the same forest. And those rishis and munis, they started talking amongst themselves. And some of them said, he was born with such a great fate. He was born with such a great astrological chart. He was born with so much of wonderful destiny that he could attain in 5 days. So another group of people said, no, it isn't about destiny. It is the fact that Mahavishnu is very partial. Because he is only 5 years old, he came there. We have been doing tapasya in this forest, being stung by scorpions and mosquitoes, eating only raw fruits, emaciating ourselves with great tapas, but he hasn't come because we are old and so on and so forth. Now, Devarshi Narad heard this conversation, so he went to Vaikuntha. And Narayan said, okay, what is in your mind? These rishis, they are all talking like this. The group of rishis is talking like this. The group of munis is talking like this. So Mahavishnu understood this. He said, and what's in your mind? Even I am thinking there's something. Dal mein kuch kala to hai. Right? So he said, okay, you do one thing. Go to the forest. Go to the north side of the forest. There is a river over there. In the river, you will find a particular boatman. And the boatman will take you to a particular point. And the answer will come on its own. So the Rishis and the Munis, they all got into the boat along with the Narad Muni. And they all went. And the boatman was not even talking. He was keeping on rowing. After a few days, the scenery started changing. They started seeing beautiful mountains. And suddenly they saw in the distance a huge mountain glowing white. Arey, what is this mountain? So the boatman said, you don't know. Okay, I'll tell you tomorrow. When the next day came, they were near that mountain. So now see this mountain very clearly. This mountain is the remains, the asthi of all the lives that what you call Dhruva Maharaj now has gone through. His ashes have been accumulated here to form this mountain. Go close and they see those skulls and the bones and the ashes. Dhruva Maharaj did not get in 5 days. He got in some millions of lifetimes. Right? Karma phala will come, but it is not necessary that it will happen in this lifetime itself. And therefore, we do not know the karma which results in the phala. And therefore, we put a label to it and say, Ishta, or we put a label to it and say, Anishtha. And he says, you are labeling it, but it is actually coming from your own karma. And therefore, don't label it. Just watch it. Samachittatvam. Right? Then he goes from there. Now he starts a little bit deviation here. He says, Mai chananya yogena bhakti ravyabhicharini. Mai cha ananya yogena bhakti avyabhicharini. Bhakti avyabhicharini. Vivikta desha sevitvam. Aratirjana samsadi. Vivikta desha sevitam. Aratirjana samsadi. So he says, for me, right, toward me. Ananya yogena, exclusively united. Again, he has given this earlier in the Bhakti Yoga. He said, okay, first do this. You can't do that, do this. You can't do that, do this. He gave 4 grades, right? And in the end, he says, I'll give you the 5th grade. Just do everything that you are doing and think that you are doing it for me. That also is bhakti. Avyabhicharini, constant. Then he says, very beautiful. He says, such a person, he says, vivikta desha sevitvam. Right, sevitvam, inclination. Vivikta desha, solitary places. Now, what is the practice here? Practice is basically take yourself away from your day-to-day humdrum, day-to-day treadmill that you are doing all the time. Move away, put out some time, whatever that time is. Go to a solitary place. Go alone, which means without your mobile phone, right? And go to a place and spend not too much time, 1 hour. So put your mobile phone off, sit down in one place and try and see the enjoyment that comes from this particular solitariness. Because you are no longer solitary. You are one with the world at that point of time. Try to get to that state of wanting. So what happens is that as you start doing this and you realize that the ultimate source of happiness is at the feet of the Lord and not from what is around you, which is changing all the time. Again, Tyaga Brahma, Tyagaraja, the 3 greats of Carnatic music. One of them is a person called Tyagaraja. Tyagaraja was a Telugu person, and he was living at a point of time when there was a Hindu king in Telugu Desam. I've forgotten the name of the king, not the Vijayanagar kingdom. Forgotten the name of the king. That king had heard about the beautiful voice of Tyagaraja and asked him to come and sing in the court. And he sent a whole chest of gold coins. He said, come, sing. And Tyagaraja composes a beautiful song over there at that point of time. Do you remember the words of that song?
Yeah, I know.
Something
Okay.
Dhana Shesham.
Sannidhi. Okay.
So,
Nidhisthana.
yes. It begins with, so it begins with the words Nidhi. So he asks a question. Is the happiness that comes from this Nidhi, from this treasure, is it something that will last for long? Or is the pleasure or the happiness that will come from serving the feet of Sri Rama, will that last for long? So whether the Nidhi will give me... So whether Nidhi will give me happiness or Sannidhi means being closeness to the feet of the Lord, will give me the happiness. That proximity, that solitariness is also to do the dhyana on Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Doshanu Anudarshanam. Dosha Anudarshanam. That is the time you're doing it. And you see this entire changing world around me, oh, that is not giving me a lasting happiness. So therefore, what will give me lasting happiness? That is that Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. Right? Then he says further, Aratir Jana Samsadi. Aratihi. Rati means to be in love with, right? To have bliss, to have happiness. Rati. So Kamadeva's wife is called Rati. She gives happiness, right? So therefore, Arati, aversion. Arati, Jana Samsadi, mundane people. All the time talking of my office politics, this, that, whatever, or gossip, right? The beautiful saying, I don't remember who was the philosopher who actually wrote about it, and very rightly he says that wise people talk about greater problems, and he uses a very derogatory term. I've forgotten that term. He says they talk about other people. Right? So all the time you find this, oh, uske baare mein baat ho rahi, iske baare mein baat ho rahi. You're talking about the people who have only a very worldly approach to this. And you are saying, no. This is not giving me a happiness. This is giving me a lot of mundane pleasure, but it is not going to last. The next moment I will also realize that the moment I walk away, these people will also talk about me. As much as I have talked about somebody else who is not present, the moment I am not present, they will also talk about me. I'm not liking this anymore. Right? Now, I am not liking this is a quality. Can I also actively propose to myself that I will not participate in such activity? I will not participate in such activity. Now, I am talking of a time where I would, in a corporate world, I was leading a team. And a lot of my peers used to come and say, तेरे को office politics affect क्यों नहीं करता है? I said, office politics affect नहीं करता है क्योंकि मैं affect करने नहीं देता हूँ. What is office politics? Office politics is somebody coming into you and telling you, do you know? And the moment that do you know, you stop that person and then you ask the Socratic 3 questions. Right? I will not tell you, Google it. Socratic 3 questions. And you ask those Socratic 3 questions, you will find that person has stopped coming to you after that. And one by one, people stop coming to you. Oh, then I will not get grapevine information. I don't care if I don't get grapevine information. I know my job, I know my KRA, I know my KPI, I will perform that. So you are above the politics. You have no reason to be in the political world. Right? This is called Arati Jana Samsadi. Being averse to, so you can practice this. It's a practice, right? Then he says further, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Now this is something that I have been propounding all the time. How much of study are we doing? Adhyatma Jnana, again he's saying, I want to, instead of wanting to read pulp fiction, I want to read the Bhagavad Geeta, or I want to read the Brahma Sutra. Right? Now, obviously, the pulp fiction has a lot of thrill in it. Right? There is every page, we call it a page turner, right? That's the term that is used, page turner. At the end of every page, you want to turn the page because there's something that is happening at the end of the page which wants you to take to the next page. Brahma Sutra will never be a page turner, right? At the end of the page, you are thinking, बाप रे ये क्या सब बोल के गया, आप कैसे सोचूं, इसके वजह से सोचते सोचते सर दर्द कर रहा है, सो जाता, अभी मुझे सोना है. Now this aversion will not happen overnight. But can I practice studying scripture? Right? Some of us have gone through various scriptures, right? We have studied partially. We did some part of Aparoksha Anubhuti. Then we have done some parts of Brahma Sutra. We did some parts of Tattva Bodha. We did some parts of Drishya Viveka. All of these, they are not intended. These are not classes which are intended to take you to the fullest extent of that particular text. That is not how even we were taught, right? The whole idea was get you to start off, but the abhyasa has to be done by oneself, and by that abhyasa, the rasa of that abhyasa itself attracts you so much that you don't want to go anywhere else, right? There is a beautiful part in the Dhyana shloka which says that like the lotus when it opens and all the six-legged instruments, six-legged insects come towards the lotus. Similarly, when the Bhagavad Gita opens up, all these people, they come to take the nectar, right? Do you remember the shloka? You have a word called Shatpada in the Dhyana shlokas. Anybody remembers? Correct. So that particular shloka is actually telling you exactly this. That once you get to the rasa of this particular beautiful nectar that is there, then nothing else will suffice. You know, this is like that the drug addict, once he has done mainlining of heroin, no other drug does any effect on him. Then he can go and drown himself in 2 bottles of rum, nothing is going to happen because the heroin overtakes that, right? So similarly, you have the highest level of intoxication that is happening over here. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to be asked, he would totter, right? So somebody once said, he's drunk. And Latu Maharaj, Adbhutananda, he said, yes, of course, he's drunk. He's drunk with the love of the divine. Right? So that is the manifestation. But then we are not looking at manifestation. We're looking at a practice. Can I start by saying, I will set out 5 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, where I'm going to take up a particular text and read it. And the best text to read is Bhagavad Gita. Please start from chapter 1. Please go back and start. These videos have been a tool for us to do manan. They are not explanatory in themselves. They are only my viewpoint, where I am taking my view, layering that on to what Gurudev has taught, and then just making a presentation. What is your view? Have you done that manan? That is what I am asking you to do here. So he says, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam. Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. So he says that he pursues the Tattva Jnana. He pursues the Tattva Jnana. Right? He has, what is this pursuit of Tattva Jnana? He does Atma Vichara. Tattva Jnana, absolute truth. He is pursuit. So again, this is a practice. And we are today unqualified to be doing Tattva Jnana. Why? Because our minds are still unstable. Therefore, how do you do Tattva Jnana? Very difficult. So therefore, what do you do? First, you learn how to stabilize your mind. You do japa, 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 japa. A japa of the word japa itself is good enough. Amantram aksharo nasti. Any akshara can become a mantra. Take that mantra and combine it with your breath and use that as your mantra for the practice. But until we learn how to stabilize our mind, it is not, the other part is not going to happen. So therefore he says, darshanam, right? Tattvajnanartha darshanam. And then he says, all of this, etad jnanam iti proktam, all of this is called jnanam. All these practices are what is called jnanam. You remember the questions that Arjuna had asked, what is jnanam and what is ajnanam? And everything else is ajnanam yadato nathanyata. Etad jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yadato nyatha. That's what he says. Everything else. Now he's put down these whole set of practices, and he says these practices are what will take you to jnanam. Jnanam and the practice of things that will take you to jnanam are not different from each other. The path and the destination are not different from each other. That is the meaning of this particular set of verses. Yes, please, Raghuji.
Yeah. So I was, you were talking about cause and effect, and the fact that the timeline is only going forward. The cause is happening earlier than the effect. And I was trying to think, is there anything where the cause is in the future and the effect is in the past?
Okay.
And why did I look for that? I said that would be breaking the laws of the universe, because time is supposed to stop at the speed of light. Nothing goes beyond the speed of light, so time cannot reverse. So is there anything? And I realized that actually, through desire, we desire something to happen in the future. That desire causes an effect to happen today in order to proceed towards that. So the desire is able to flip the time around, and the future event is actually the cause of something that's happening today. I just want to share it. That's all. I don't know if there's any sense in this.
Firstly, your cosmological statement that the speed of light is the final constant is also wrong. You should read a book called Finding Shiva, written by a cosmologist. So it's a very interesting book. He looks at quantum physics and uses quantum physics to understand a black hole, and how a black hole, concepts of the black hole relate to what we call Shiva today. So it's a very beautiful explanation that he has done. Firstly, so to the time of...
What was the name again?
Finding Shiva. I'll put it on the group. I'm very impressed with that particular book. Okay, he has got a lot of things that he has taken from Sadhguru, he has taken from Devdutt Patnaik, all of these where he has are so-called, I will say, pseudo-scientific, but and he's layered them on actual science. So you can actually read it and then interpret on your own. But the actual science part of it is there for you. So it's there. I mean, it's not taken away. So remove the pseudoscience. That's his view. You can remove that, and then you can put that on. So that's one. The second part is, you have to remember that every effect in itself, when you attach yourself to it, becomes the cause of another effect. Right? Karma bandha is basically by being attached to the present effect. The moment I am attached to the present effect, I have created a cause for the future. So, are we flipping cause and effect around? No, not to my understanding, but basically the sequence of cause, effect, the effect itself becomes a cause for another action in the future. Only but however, when I attach myself to the result. But if I'm unattached to the result, then there is no causality, because the chain of causality is broken. Right? Chaliye. Next, a little bit of small homework. Verse 13 is very simple. Verse 13 is basically saying that now I will tell you what ought to be known, and by knowing what will you get immortality, and so on and so forth. Verse 13. But then he starts off with verse 14, and that is the verse which I want you to study and come back with your own viewpoints on this as your understanding. And please, always, whenever you look at a particular shloka, especially from verses 13 to 18, always look at cross-referencing that with something that has been spoken about in 1 to 6 as well as in 7 to 12. And you will see that there is a difference between the approach that he is taking to that same concept in all the 3 separate sections. And they are relatively, therefore, going deeper and deeper. You have to understand that also. So please do that as your homework. Verse number 14. Chapter 13, verse 14. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.